Hey, I am live to do my live on generational womb wellness. Um, I told you all I would get on. My computer was acting up, but here I am. So here I am from my cell phone, which I didn't particularly want to be from because it's just annoying, but because I got to hold it up while I'm trying to do other stuff. So anyway, why did I want to come on and talk about generational womb wellness? Because now that I am in the process of, my daughter is going through puberty and we're starting to look at that whole process, as well as my own personal journey with healing my womb and changing from using various or trying to use different types of materials during my cycle and et cetera, et cetera. So I've used, menstrual cups, which didn't work well for me. And now I am using natural pads, natural care. And so all of this precipitated me looking at the history of pads and women's womb wellness as well as women's sanitary napkin use, right? Because that's something that we don't, oftentimes, and I'm the advocate of intergenerational healing, which means understanding, knowing history of families, communities, et cetera, because in order to really shift things, we really need to know the history of a thing so that we can properly gauge, understand the processes, and not fall victim to what may come again, because history surely does repeat itself, quite frankly, if we don't know, if we're not clear, if we don't understand very well. And so for me, this womb wellness conversation is about really understanding the history of what we've been using, pads, and solutions to that issue or that conversation. So on doing my studies and my research, I found various conversations around what women have used over the years. So in ancient Egypt, women used, papyrus and leaves and such. In the Middle Ages, it was washable cloths. Then there was this, what do you call it? This like the contraption that you put on. It looks like a weird G-string-ish thing. I don't know what it is. And then you put the cloth inside of that to hold the leakage from happening. And so it's been these years of these different iterations of pads. And so, through the years, people discovered that, first of all, there was something interesting that I found was that the disposable pads that women currently use was actually started by Benjamin Franklin when he created a material for wounded soldiers for them to put inside their clothes. For when they, obviously got wounded and they had to, it was there to absorb the blood. So it was very absorbable for it to absorb that blood. So that idea turned into what was used for pads. Intriguing, no? So it wasn't even a woman that created the modern iteration of sanitary napkins. It was a man that created that. So there were different things that was used. So, wool. So of course that's not going to stay for too long because wool is expensive. It's not, something that you can, when you consider how many cycles or periods women get through their lifetimes and having to, shave a sheep or whatever to get that material, then that's not going to be a sustainable thing to use. But back in the 14th century, that is what was used. But the issue was that it caused rashes and infections. Okay, that was very common because of the material. Sanitary belts was what was used. But again, in the before the 1970s, because around the 1970s is when disposable sanitary napkins in the U.S. were created, invented. So before that, it was the sanitary belts, where you had the belt, you put the belt on, and then in the belt you put a disposable cloth. that women washed and cleaned, and then reused. Okay, so you can imagine that one, that belt would be very uncomfortable. Okay, and two, having to wash and reuse a cloth would be, just imagine having to do that all the time. It's like using a cloth diaper, but your child's baby time ends, whereas women, we have our cycles from anywhere from age 10 all the way to age 50, right? That's a lot of years, and that's a lot of cloth, and that's a lot of washing, and that's a lot. So the disposable pads were created, and initially cotton was used in them. And of course, cotton is a great material to use. But again, the expense of it would be a bit much. So I'm just telling you the history and giving you just a little bit of perspective. Patricia, you remember the sanitary belt? Girl. That's interesting. This is the kind of information we really need to teach our daughters. Like, really need to understand this is part of their education and edification on being a woman, right? All of these different iterations. It's like, we don't get to a point just by getting there. No, there's a process to getting to that point. And now that, I have a daughter and I'm teaching her certain things, and, she's getting to that point, I'm thinking about what the history is and what all of it means. So what, really? You looking good, girl. Yes, honey. I love it. And so there was different issues. So another iteration of pads was created, was the current iteration that in the conventional pads are paper pulp is used, but those pads are bleached with a dioxin bleach, right? So that has been found to cause many issues, such as being an endocrine system disruptor, cancer causing, et cetera. And so now there is a movement that combines all of this knowledge that we have about, from past history of the pads being too thick, or them not being breathable enough, them not absorbing enough, having strong smell, and ensuring that they're chlorine free so that women are not taking in the dioxins from that chlorine. And so from all of those iterations of the pad and what the pad, has done for women and what was created, now we are seeing movements of women, or, situations of women looking for something that is going to be more healthy for them. And I say not just healthy for them, but healthy for their daughters, if they have daughters, or even just young women in their circle. Right? Just teaching them about taking care of their body and as healthily as possible. And so, as I said earlier, this is important to me because I have a daughter. My daughter is going through puberty. She hasn't gotten her cycle yet, but I'm very certain that she will within this year. And so I want to ensure that I am giving her the best materials possible to take care of her womb, right? Because it's never too early to do that. And, I know historically, again, many of us look at that from the perspective of, oh, she's becoming a woman, your child, the girl is becoming a woman now, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, so what are we teaching them about being able to take care of themselves well and doing what is right for their bodies? So with all of that said, I've found and tested out different ways to deal with my monthly cycle. And so, as I said, I've used the menstrual cup, different ones. I personally didn't like them because what I found is, if you have a tilt in your uterus or something like that. So my uterus is tilted a little bit, and I've actually come to find out that many women have that. Then that the menstrual cup may be difficult for it to stay in, and I know that was an issue that I had. I know for some people this is probably a cringy conversation, but this is an issue that we've dealt with throughout history. Nobody wants to talk about, period, even speaking the word period like on TV that didn't happen until like the 1980s or something. It was always taboo to talk about that subject. And I think that a lot of young girls are growing up with a lot of shame around getting their period, et cetera, but it's a natural process. So there should not be any shame around it. And I think that shame causes, of course, guilt in young women, and also causes us a blockage from really educating ourselves and them about how to properly take care of ourselves and themselves. That's what I've seen, and that's what I understand. And so, anywho, in this journey of me finding new ways to take care of myself, because to me it is a form of self-care to educate myself about things that have been used throughout time, and finding new things that are going to be most beneficial to me. Now I'm looking at new forms of materials to use. And one of the materials that I found that I love, because I feel like it just incorporates the solutions to all of the problems throughout time, right? And one of the problems has been the chlorine, right? And so I'm showing you the box of pads, right? Lamo pads, herbal pads. And what I love about this is, way back in the day, in the Middle Ages, women did use various plant medicines and herbs during their moon time or their cycle in order to relieve the effects. This pad offers that in the pad to assist with alleviating those effects of your cycle, PMS, etc. And so, for example, there's aloe in the pad, which is moisturizing, right? And not moisturizing as in, it gives your vagina a little massage down there, because sometimes it can get inflamed, etc. So it's self-care for your vagina. Lavender is anti-inflammatory, because again, women would experience inflammation when they were on their cycle, because you have on this pad, and the air, it's not allowing air to circulate, and so various things can happen. Inflammation can be one of them. The mint is refreshing. That might be my favorite, because it offers some coolness down there. Again, on your cycle, on your period, whichever word you use. I use the term cycle. It can get really warm when you're utilizing pads down there, etc. And so that helps to cool the area. The rose offers pain relief, right? So rose is a pain relief agent. Rose is the highest vibrating plant on the planet, and it promotes the feelings of love and comfort, etc., etc. And then the final herb is one that's found in Asia. It's not one that many of us over here is familiar with. It's spelled Houttuinia, and it is antiviral. It's called Houttuinia. And it's antiviral. So again, one of the things that, as I said earlier, when women would back when women were using sheep's wool, they would get rashes and infections, and so this is antiviral to ward that off, right? And so those elements that are added to this, I think, are great, because it really does help combat the issues that women have dealt with being on their cycle for all these years. Not only that, but they're thin. They're chlorine free, so the dioxins are not being entered in your body. If you don't know what dioxins are, please do research on that. As I said, conventional pads have, from the dyeing process, gets the dioxins from that process to make it look white, make the pads look white. That's where the dioxins, where the come in. And imagine putting that conventional pad on your vagina. That's a very porous area, right? That area takes in, even though it is releasing during your moon time, it is porous, and it does take in whatever is put down there. And that causes a lot of women to experience various issues. There's dioxins have been linked to reproductive issues, various reproductive issues. I talked yesterday a little bit about, having cysts, developmental problems, immune system dysfunction, and disrupting your hormones, your endocrine system, or just a few of the issues that dioxins can cause, a female's body. And so, just knowing what you're putting on your body is so critical. Okay. And so these pads are dioxin free. Not only that, the fragrances put here are essential oils. They are not synthetic fragrances. So sometimes I don't know if they do this so much anymore, but I know back in the day, and y'all could correct me if I'm wrong, they used to put fragrance in the sanitary napkins. And if you know anything about fragrance oils versus essential oils, there's a significant difference. Fragrance oils are synthetic and they're created in a lab with various toxic elements. So even, I hate to say this, y'all, but some scents like Nag Champa that we love, that's a synthetic oil. That is a synthetic fragrance oil. Okay. But then you have essential oils like, mint and these different things, which is used in these pads. And you can always just ask if you're not sure if it's fragrance or essential. Like when you buy those scented shea butters and such, ask, did you use fragrance oils or did you use essential oils? There's a difference. Okay. When we go to, no offense, but when we go to the, the Muslim folks and they shops or they stands on the corner, I'm from New Jersey, so in Newark, there's plenty of them who sell the oils and such, Nag Champa being one of them. They, those are fragrance oils. So, just so you're aware. Okay, but those are oils and your skin is highly porous, as I said. So putting on toxic pads can mess with you. Non-woven fabric, which makes it more breathable. Natural essences, comfort. It's a 47-time absorption rate. These pads offer, so they're very efficient. Okay, they prevent leakage, breathable back sheets. So, it's just a better option. It's one of the better options for you to consider when you're looking at suggesting items for your children to use, your young children, the young women that you interact with, or even yourself, because you can't take care of other people's if you're not taking care of yourself. Right? So I do offer them, and they come in. And the beauty about it having a higher absorption rate, I will say, because as I use them clearly, and my daughter will be using them, is that you don't have to, change them as frequently. And, with the elimination of the odor and such, you don't feel self-conscious about it as much. And the packages, they last quite long. So this one is the day use, and it has 20 in it, right? So this could last you, depending on your body and how your cycle goes, it can last you 2 to 3 months, depending on how you use them. So it has 20 in it, the day use. The overnights has 16 in it. And same thing, it lasts. Here are the herbal ingredients right here. So you can do research yourself to find out the benefits of it. I did talk about it a little bit in the beginning. And then the panty liners, for those who, on those last leg days where you don't need a heavy flow situation, and you can utilize these. This is where you open them here at the side, and it's resealable. And because this uses essential oils, it's essential that you because it uses essential oils, it's essential that you close it back so that the oils can keep the properties of the oils can stay. Because if you don't know, essential oils, that's the difference between essential oils and fragrance oils. Essential oils actually dissipate quicker because they are natural, whereas fragrance oils, they stay for quite a while. So does anybody have any questions about this? I hope I gave you I know I only gave you a slight overview about the history and what women have used over time and how that has changed and why that has changed and all of that, just to say that it has come to a point where companies are creating pads that are more beneficial to and healthier for women to utilize while they're on their cycles. And this is something that I really would love to educate young women on, right? So if you have a young women's group that you want somebody to talk to about this, please feel free, because I think that this is something that we need to have open conversations with our young women about, and that we need to educate ourselves on. I mean, listen, YouTube is it's school. You go in there and learn some stuff. Okay, I think it's important to arm yourself with education and information, so that you're not just doing things just because it's been done. We have to start thinking deeper than that when it comes to what we put on our bodies, what we put on our, what we say, the things that we're doing. All of those things need to be evaluated at some point. And this is just one of the things that we need to evaluate. The other thing that y'all know I talk about all the time is self-care. We need to evaluate the way that we have been taught to take care of ourselves. And to me, this is a way to take care of yourself in a way that honors your body, that honors your womb wellness, that honors your generational womb wellness. Because yes, we have been taught to just use that or just use this, and we haven't had the ability to evaluate that. And so now this is the opportunity to evaluate it and educate ourselves, and then also change our process. So if you're interested in getting the packets, I can sell them individually or as a starter pack. The starter pack is $27 for 2 of the day use, 1 of the overnight and 1 of the liners, and then 1 pack is $7, and that's plus shipping and handling. So you would have to add shipping and handling. And I think the starter pack is the best thing because it's a value. It's a great value. And yeah, that's what I have. Any questions? If you don't have any questions, then I'm just going to leave y'all with that information. I hope that was useful for you. And I look forward to coming with more information about various topics, because I'm a storehouse of knowledge. I just need to utilize that knowledge and express that knowledge. So if you don't have any questions, and if you do, then just put it down below, and then I'll answer any questions that you have. You can inbox me, or you can just go to PayPal, paypal.me/mommyevolve /27, or paypal.me/mommyevolve. Email me, MOMEVOLVE, mommyevolve@gmail.com, or DM me, inbox me, so you can get the invoice. I'm building a website now. I haven't finished building it, but in the meantime, I would love to be able to share this with you because I think it's magnificent. All right, so I will talk to you soon, and be well, my friends. Be safe, be healthy. Peace.